Hello, everyone, and welcome to another book club episode. I'm joined again by author Katherine Kovacic. Thank you for being here.
So pleased to be here, and we get to talk books too, even
We
better.
get to talk books. So, first and foremost, do you like to read, and what is your relationship to reading?
Oh, I absolutely love to read. I've always loved to read. I think one of my earliest memories is when I was really little, we didn't have a library in the area, and the library service had a bookmobile, which was like an old school bus that was fitted out like a library inside. And so I just have these
Love
these really
that.
early memories of going up those steep bus steps into this busload of books, and it was just the best feeling ever.
Wait, I love that. In general, I think that's a good idea to have like a moving,
Yeah.
I guess, bookstore or library, but that
Mhm.
would be really cool. And also to collect books, also. Because have you
Ooh,
ever seen
oh.
those? What are they called? The little libraries that people have in front of their
Yeah,
houses?
street library. Yep.
Yeah, like
Yep.
those I love. And I never remember, speaking of treasure hunters, I never remember where they are on my walks to go back. But
Oh, that's
I
hard.
love an
Oh,
important
yeah.
question. Do you finish every book that you pick up?
I used to. I used to be
Okay.
like, I know I'm reading this, I'm invested, I'm
Okay.
going for it, I'm
No
hating
matter
it,
what, I'm
no
finishing
matter
it.
what. But then, you know what? There are too many good books out there to waste time on something that isn't singing for
Yeah.
you. I
Now
just
you write mystery thrillers. What do you like to read?
I read a lot of mystery. I read pretty widely because I think that sort of helps.
Okay.
That sounds very academic. It helps as an author, but I just think you can't. I can't, like, for me, I feel like I can't restrict myself and say I'm only going to read crime, and I can't read crime when I'm writing crime. So, and
Oh,
I
okay.
need something to read because it messes up my own plot. So I need to put crime as, you start
Yeah.
thinking, wait, did I come up with that, or did I just
Yeah.
read that in something else? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I put crime aside and read something different while I'm working through that first draft and all the problems of that. So I read quite widely across most genres, really. I don't do a lot of science fiction fantasy. It just, I
Okay.
don't know. I used to, but I don't anymore. And I also like reading sort of history and a bit of biography as well. So, and often there's that's a nice source to mine for crazy people and crazy ideas because
Yes.
they could do a lot of weird stuff. I have to agree. I love a good heist. It's just,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and because then you're kind of sitting with the I don't want to say the bad guys, but you're sitting with the conspirators as a
Yeah.
reader, and that's
Yeah.
always a fun place to be in.
Yeah.
And then when the wheels start to fall off, and it's yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
I would say similar to your book that you wrote, Kill Yours, Kill Mine, that we talked about in the last episode, one of the things that I found very interesting, and I said at the beginning of this episode that I seem to have a very similar theme in a lot of my guests this season, where they're female killers in the books and they're powerful women and they're women kind of taking back power in some capacity. And I'm really enjoying, usually when you read a mystery or even a psychological thriller, a part of the story itself is that mystery, is the unknown, is something you don't
Hmm.
know. When you start with a book like yours, where you know that there is a group of women who are all planning to kill each other's, um, villains in their own personal stories, you kind of wonder, where are we going with this? If we
Hmm.
know what the crime's going to be and we watch the crime happen, and I'm actually rooting for the person committing this crime in your book, for example,
Excellent. Yes, excellent.
where do we go from here? At what point, like, you're sitting on the edge of your seat going, are these women going to be caught? Do I want them to be caught? And I think that is a different element of mystery that I'm starting to very much enjoy as I'm reading more in this, genre.
That's great. And I think it's really interesting because when we have these powerful women who are doing this thing,
Mhm.
and there is still that mystery there, whereas, there are all those like movies from 10, 20 years ago. If you had Chuck Norris or Bruce Willis, it's like someone's killed Bruce Willis's family and he's out to avenge it. You're like, yeah, he's just going to blast his way through the country and that'll be that.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
no mystery there. We're
Yep.
just along for watching him basically throw hand grenades and
Yep.
pull the trigger. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. But then but as you said, we've got this group of women. It is what's going to happen. Isn't that interesting that we just think about this completely differently?
Yeah. And I wonder how much of that is, not to psychoanalyze us, but like, I wonder while I'm reading it, how much of that is me knowing that the system is stacked against me as a woman
Mm,
already. And
yep.
especially in for example, in your novel, these women they all share the fact that they have a sister who has died at the hand of her partner. And so you're sitting there, kind of, that a lot of these men are going to get away with it. And how that just the odds are stacked against you as a woman in this world. And so it kind of, it just makes it a little bit, you're more on edge as the reader as well. Like I felt for them and I understood, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how is this there's no way they'll get away with it. They have to get caught. Or like you're angry and you're like, of course these men got away with it. Yeah. And I think, that element to it.
It's interesting. A couple of the book club groups that I've done, and I've had people say, and I was thinking, how could I could kill someone. I actually could. How would I do it? And so people are like, well, maybe I could actually do this and get away with it. Hello.
Now, what is a book that has taught you a lesson or left an imprint on your life specifically? Okay,
well, to see, it's probably not, I don't know, it's probably not quite what you're asking, but it's interesting that you mentioned poisons, because I've got it here. This is the book that's talking about. So this is A is for Arsenic, The Poisons of Agatha Christie.
Ooh, I love that.
And it's a breakdown of, I think it's 14 poisons that she used across her books. And the woman who wrote it is, she's got a chemical background. So she breaks it all down. And because of the period, it's really interesting. It's like, digitalis. Well, you get that from foxglove and you have to compound it like this. It's like, ooh, okay. Because Agatha Christie was, of course, she was a compounding chemist during the war in a military hospital. So she knew.
I actually didn't know that.
She knew all about how the poisons and things worked. So it's actually, it's probably not what you meant when you said what books taught your lesson. But yes, A is for Arsenic. Definitely worth reading.
The next one is, I read it this year or last year, 2024, called The Last One by Will Dean. And it basically starts out with this woman who is on a cruise, and this may convince you to not go to the Arctic, and I apologize, but she starts on a cruise and with her boyfriend, and you set the scene. She's going to dinner and experiencing the cruise with this boyfriend and thinking about her life, and there's that literary piece of her kind of analyzing her life, etc. And then she wakes up the next morning and the boat is empty and she's still on it. And you go through the whole novel wondering why and how. And it's a thriller, but you have absolutely no idea till the very end. And it was like gripping. Like I could not put it down. It was so good.
Sounds wild. It sounds really good.
Yeah. The next one, it recently came out as well. It's called What a Way to Go by Bella Mackie. And she wrote How to Kill Your Family a couple of years ago, and that was really good. But this one I found very interesting because the 3 points of view are, one is through the victim who dies, and he's in this limbo space of between the afterlife and life, and he's kind of looking down at everybody processing his grief, and he doesn't really remember how he died. And then the next point of view is his wife and her kind of analyzing everything that's happening and talking about his life, and then a amateur sleuth. And so it starts off with, that this man dies, and he's a wealthy man in a wealthy family and kind of pompous and arrogant and older. And he's sitting there kind of narrating from his own point of view, stuck in this limbo, watching over. Meanwhile, his wife is narrating and talking about his life, and everybody around him is. And I think seeing it play out and figuring out how he died as everybody's being interviewed, because it happens at a birthday party, and, was it murder? Was it an accident, etc. But also having the victim's point of view is so interesting. And so I think that was really good. I like that one. And then
great title, great recommendations.
I'm glad. It's all I try to do. And what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading, I'm reading a book called the Fellowship of Puzzle Makers, which is it's a quirky little sort of cozy thing. I'm not quite sure. I've just started it. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it at this stage. So
we're not 60 pages in yet.
Yeah, we're not 60. We're not the 60-page mark. So it's done really well in the UK. So it's probably a brilliant book. But and on my non-fiction pile is The Story of the Country House, which is the country house in England. So the development of all those kind of Bridgerton slash
Oh,
Downton Abbey kind of houses,
yeah,
and how, how that whole sort of aspect of society came to be in England. And it's a really nice read. It's nicely written. So
yeah.
it's a good one to dip
Oh,
in and out of too, because you can do different periods
yeah.
in history. So yeah.
As somebody who likes history, it seems, would you ever write a a book that takes place in a different time period?
So well, my first book, The Portrait of Molly Dean, actually had a dual time period, and part of that was
Oh,
the
okay.
1930s. So yes, the answer is yes. And I have this character in my head she's a crossover genre character. So I'm not quite sure how it, like I'm a bit scared of her because it's taking me out of my comfort zone. But she's very definitely, she has kind of like a Catherine Hepburn man suit, black
Okay.
and white noirish vibe to her. So that's, yeah. So if I kind of get to grips with her, yeah, I think I do like historical detail. So yeah,
Okay. She's sitting in that waiting room.
she is definitely. Well, I think she's pacing the waiting room.
Okay.
She's a woman with an agenda, so she's not sitting down for anybody, baby.
Oh, that's so interesting. I would be curious, do you have, last question, but do you have, as a writer, we talked about figuratively the waiting room where all these characters exist in your
Mm.
head. Do you have a notebook or a document or something where you write all these down as they come to you? Or do they just, yeah, do you write down all these ideas? Because it seems like you kind of get them all the time.
Um, it depends. Sometimes I write down bits and pieces, but often
Okay.
I like with the characters, I think I know they just kind of need to sit and just, they'll come when they're ready. It's like the waiting room, like you stick your head out there and not quite ready yet. So, and
Yeah.
when the time's right, that they're sort of there. So they're sort of bubbling away in my brain and coming to
Yeah.
grips with things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much for being here. This has been lovely. You're a joy to talk to. And I say this every time I talk to an author, but I think as somebody who's a fan of your book, getting to know you and like sitting in your head a little bit in these conversations is just like so cool.
Oh, thank you, Kendall. I hope it wasn't too scary in my head because it's a
No,
bit
I
weird in
loved
there.
it.
But
I
I've had a
loved it.
great time chatting with you. It's been so much fun. Thank you.